I'm so excited to finally be sharing this video with you. It's been weeks in the making. I'm Molly. If you're new around here, I make all sorts of lifestyle videos all about New England living, crafts, just travel adventures and all that fun stuff. If you haven't already, I'd love it if you subscribed. Today's video is one of those craft videos. So you may have seen this dress floating around the internet lately, and like many others, I've been keen to get it, but less so when I see the price. As such, it's been sitting in my cart for some time, but I can't get it out of my head. So I'll probably cave eventually and buy it. It got me thinking about some dresses I had growing up that were very similar. I recall them being so comfortable and pretty, and I just felt so nice in them. I absolutely adored that style dress growing up. Anyway, after a little nostalgic moment, my train of thought deviated and I started thinking about the different elements of this dress. It's just some tiered fabric, a sheared top, and ruffly sleeves. Simple, right? How hard can it be to make? She says with little to no sewing experience. Once that thought popped into my mind about making a summery dress, nothing was gonna stop me, other than waiting a few weeks for fabric. What are you gonna do? Luckily, I'm always up for a crafty challenge, so on I went researching about different fabrics, kind of the general process, and everything that you could need to know for making a dress like this. I knew I wanted like a pretty dainty floral fabric, and I remembered Rifle Paper Co. having this pretty hydrangea one. When I initially started thinking about this project and researching different fabrics, I had looked for this one and it was out of stock. Thankfully, at the beginning of July, it came back in stock very briefly, so I quickly grabbed 5 yards and waited a few weeks for that to come in, and here we are. So over the last 3 days, I've been slowly chipping away at making this dress, so I thought I would share my process and thoughts along the way. Now, I have little to no sewing experience. I made this dress and a few scrunchies over the years. I had a couple of projects in middle school that I did for home ec class, and that's pretty much the extent of it. So I'm a beginner. During my research process, I did find a tutorial for this dress by the lovely Lauren Johnson. I followed Lauren for some time now, and she just has so many wonderful sewing and crafty videos and is just an incredible teacher. I could not have done this or nearly as seamlessly without her video. So definitely go check it out. Check out her channel. I'll have the tutorial linked below, but you should definitely check out her channel regardless. It's amazing. Anyway, enough of my rambling and let's get sewing. Okay, right, so materials. I have them listed in front of me, so don't mind me, I'll be reading that. Okay, so I ordered 5 yards of fabric. I definitely could have gotten away with 4, but I wanted extra just to be safe, especially since it was so hard to get my hands on this fabric. It's always better to have more than not enough. I had elastic thread, and I used about 2.5 of those. I did waste a little bit of that just because I made my dress too big initially, so I had to take it in, and some of that was just, you know, scrapped. But yeah, I used about 2.5 of those. Thread, scissors, measuring tape, sewing machine, all that fun stuff, and a bit of determination. The first step and my least favorite part of sewing is the prep, so measuring and cutting out all the pieces. This dress is comprised of 8 pieces, the top, front, and back, middle tier, front and back, bottom tier, you guessed it, front and back, and 2 straps. You could add another tier to this dress, just make sure to adjust all of the lengths so it's a midi dress. I did deviate from the tutorial as it went if I A, didn't know how to do said step, B, did something wrong so I kind of just MacGyvered it and worked with what I had, or C, wanted to tailor the dress a bit better to my shape. Rather than taking the bust size and adding 2 inches, I found just the bust size itself or plus 1 inch to be enough, and that would allow for a more fitted look. For instance, my measurement is like a 34-35 inch, so I added just 1 inch for 36 inches and cut that out for the piece, and the extra inches for the seam allowance. And then that piece is 24 inches long, and that's the front piece, so I need to cut out a back piece. And those are the 2 pieces for the top part. The first tier is the bust measurement plus 25% of that measurement. So in my case, that'd be adding 9 inches to the 36 to get 45 inches. And for that bottom tier, I did roughly that and cut slightly less at 54 inches. I'd say when in doubt, cut out bigger pieces, and once it's all assembled, you can take it in then. And then for the sleeves, I made them 6 inches wide for that seam allowance as Lauren recommended, and made them a bit longer at 27 inches, just in case. I'm always worried about not having enough fabric. So with all those pieces cut out, time to assemble the dress. First, I ironed my fabric. I have a cotton-based fabric, and I'd recommend that for newer sewers as it's easier to work with than other fabrics in my opinion. Once ironed a bit, I sewed together all the coordinating pieces along the edges, so top, front, and back pieces together and so on. I'm having the good sides together and sewing along those edges, making sure to sew back and forth at the start and end of the stitch. edges are sewed together, I'm ironing down that seam and then ironing where I'll be hemming, and just repeating that for each tier. For the sleeves, I'm taking those long pieces and hemming the edges. Now for some shearing. This was my first time shearing, so I didn't have a clue what to do other than I knew the stitch length needed to be increased and the tension needed to be changed. I would recommend getting some scrap fabric and just testing shearing and what works for your machine on that. What worked for my machine was increasing the stitch length to the greatest amount and adding +2 to the tension to give a nice straight and secured elastic row. Speaking of, I'm adding 4 elastic rows to the pieces to give the sheared ruffle effect. That first row starts about 3/4 to an inch in. And rounding to the next row like so. That gives the nice tight ruffle on the inside and the ruffle on the outside. Can I just say, I was so proud about how these sleeves turned out. I was texting everyone about it because I couldn't believe what I made, and I know they're just sleeves. With that confidence boost, I turned to focusing on the ruffles at the top of each tier. I tested the whole pulling the gathering strings on the scrap fabric, and I don't think I did it right, so I just decided to gather bits of the fabric myself. I messed up doing this the first time as I basically shoved too much fabric under at once, and the tier turned out so small. It looked like a neck ruffle. So I ripped out those seams and did more spaced out overlaps at random and ended up with this. I then sewed down the bottom tier to the middle one with the right side up, just following that seam, and basically the lower tier should be overlapping the one above it. As I said earlier, I chipped away at this dress over 3 days. Realistically, it took probably 5 to 6 hours total to make over those days, but that's with fumbling through learning entirely new skills, getting distracted watching Harry Potter, and many TikTok breaks. So if you're a more seasoned sewer or you don't get distracted as easily as myself, this could be done in a day for sure. For that top piece, I'm hemming the top. And again, I'm starting the shearing about an inch in. I'm doing 18 rows of shearing on the top, and basically the bottom half should be kind of that nice loose fabric. That middle tier that has the bottom tier attached to it already, I'm just sewing that down on the top piece. I'd recommend then trying the dress on, seeing where you want those sleeves, and then you can make little marks or pin where you want the sleeves, and then just sew the sleeves on. After many tedious hours, I made the dress! I'm honestly so pleased with this and somewhat proud of myself. I'd never done a project like this before. Honestly, I can't believe it actually came together. Regardless of your sewing experience, I hope this video gives you a bit of encouragement to tackle any sort of sewing project that you'd like. You never know how it's going to turn out. Chances are it'll turn out better than you think. If you'd like to see more crafting videos or sewing videos from an experienced sewer, let me know. Be sure to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!